YouTube? You guys are now watching another segment of the Cali Effect. Today we are going over the CaliEffectX Suicidal Kozmo deck profile. This deck did go undefeated at a Versus tournament, and just to let you guys know, this is sponsored by Versus. Amazing shop, best shop in Vegas, hands down. Not a single better shop out there. If you guys do catch yourself in the area, you can always catch the Cali Effect there. They're actually even having a case tournament coming up soon for $5. I'll hit you up with a video later. Let's get to this deck profile. Main reason Brian let me use these Dark Destroyers, and I wouldn't have been able to win without that deck. 3 copies of Dank Destroyer, most mandatory card. Fortunately, they dropped in price, so you know that's not that bad. Whoa, that's a little messed up, but will work. 3 copies of Forerunner. 2 Slip Rider. That's gonna be it for the ships. I run 8 total. Next for the pilots, 3 Darth Maul, 3 Luke, Good Witch, and Strawman. That's it for pilots and monsters. That sums up at about 18, 8, and 8. I really didn't feel that there was a reason to play multiple copies of Strawman, and I have seen a couple of builds actually play multiple copies of Strawman. And to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I've played Cosmos for the total of, I don't know, the week of Star Wars Awakening coming out. So I'm not 100%, I wouldn't say that I'm like really skilled at the deck, but I didn't see a reason to cut Good Witch for Strawman, mainly because Good Witch gets rid of so many awkward threats, and it's not that you're gonna use it every game, it's just the fact that it's another Kozmo name, and on top of that, it does have a really good effect inside of a Book of Moon-like monster. Next, for, I guess to sum up the monsters, is 3 copy of Effect Veiler and 3 copy of Maxis. These cards are the MVP, and I'll be able to explain that one a little later. For spells, I run about 10 spells. It's gonna start off with 3 copies of Cosmotown, 2 copies of MST, 3 copies of Emergency Teleport, Raigeki, and Allure Darkness. I wasn't really happy with the low count of spells, but I had to because I play a pretty high count of traps, especially it gives me an edge when I'm going first. I really did not like Allure of Darkness. I want to cut it for Terraforming, but that's really the only problem that I had throughout the tournament, is that I probably cut the Allure of Darkness for Terraforming, and the only reason why I cut it is because I want to see Cosmotown as fast as possible. Nothing else. Allure of Darkness is still really good, especially when you could banish your Darth Maul or your Dark Destroyer and then add it back to your hand, so you basically just plus for days with Cosmotown and Allure of Darkness. It's a really nifty combo. For traps, 2 Time Space Trap Hole, 2 Storming Mirror Force, Vanity, Solemn, Bottomless, Skill Drain. That's gonna sum up the traps. And immediately you can look at this deck, and this deck plays quite a few traps for a Kozmo deck profile. If you look at it, I pay at least 5,000 life points in trap effects. Skill Drain, Solemn Warning, and 2 Time Space Trap Holes at least being 1,000 in themselves. And that's why I want to call it Suicidal Cosmos, is because you pay so many life points, but it works. And I'm not, like, from building this deck, the ideological standpoint was to just stop Pepe, and because this deck has a horrible Pepe matchup, and so I just felt that Time Spaces were amazing. Solemn is obviously amazing. Skill Drain wins me the matchup because I negate all monsters on the field, and provided that do not have that mirror and a pendulum skull. I hate that card. I win the game because Dark Destroyer is stronger than any monster they can make under Skill Drain. It also helps with the Ignister problem. Now, the real reason why I feel that, I'm gonna move these over here. The real reason why I felt that Effect Veilers and Maxis are mandatory in Cosmos is because Maxis allow me to draw into all of my combo pieces, all of the pieces that I need to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And Effect Veiler is, when I summon Dark Destroyer, it forces them to make an Ignister. Once they make an Ignister, I Effect Veiler or Ignister, and I win on from there. It's not really much else to say about that. Effect Veiler came in a lot of critical times where the opponents would make a monster that did some amazing effect, and then Effect Veiler just came through. And now they have to deal with Dark Destroyer, 3,000 attack beater, and more often than not, they can't. So I normally win out from there. Maxi, I forced so many Pepe players to allow me to plus off of Maxi, which any given time in this deck that you plus off of Maxi, especially if you're plussing more than 2, it really hands you the game in your favor, because then you get to set up your traps, you get to have your Cosmo monsters. There have been times where I've just been sitting on nothing, a Wicked Witch, no relevant monsters in hand, my opponents let me plus and maxi, and I get like a Dank Destroyer, a Forerunner, or even a Slip Rider to disrupt their scale. So I really like maxi in here, and that's the biggest reason why I'm not playing Reasoning, is because if I Reasoning into a maxi or Effect Veiler, that's an auto neg. Personally, I just feel that Reasoning is a really bad card in here. Another card that I wanted to point out was TheCaliEffectX. That card's pretty good, but I just felt that it makes my good hands great, and it makes my bad hands even worse. I don't want to draw something like Effect Veilers, Maxis, the ships, and then TheCaliEffectX. So that was my logic behind not playing either of those. But let's get on to the extra deck. Alright guys, the extra deck, I'm not even gonna lie, throughout the whole tournament, I didn't use a single extra deck card. And still to this day, I don't know what would be, you know, optimal, because I've never genuinely needed extra deck cards. So, I mean, I guess you can say you can play whatever you want, but here's what I played. Acid Golem, Sky Cavalry. Obviously for, you know, really bad hands, if I ever needed to get over something in Zen mains, the only guys that I would feel as mandatory through playtesting was Dweller, Castell, and Timaeus. Timaeus makes your 5s. Castell and Dweller just really get you out of situations that you probably wouldn't want to be in ever at any given time. Pleiades and Diamond. Now, I am missing a card in my extra deck, and it's Artifact Durandal. I can't find my Durandal for some reason, but that is the card I would play. This is 14. Mistborn Colossus, I literally threw it in here because I noticed I had 14 card extra deck, so, I mean, it was the only card I can find. I'm not saying that I would play it. I felt that this card was a really good option at Armadas, because if I run over a Plush Fire with it, then, you know, I'm plussing. Red Eyes Wyvern is a destruction card that doesn't, you know, it doesn't target, so it's a destruction non-targetable card. Ancient Fairy and Meteor Burst, I side, what's that? I side Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, but I never even mained it, so I don't really even know what to say. Plus I have room. And then the last card is the Scarlet Red. Like I said, I'm not saying that this is the perfect extra deck. My side deck is actually, I feel that's worse, but hey, it is what it is. It did go undefeated. But let's get on to something that I normally don't do. There won't be a combo tutorial, but I will give you my side deck. Alright guys, coming into the tournament, I obviously, you know, scoped around. Anytime you guys go to any type of event, whether it's big and small, I really think that, you know, if you're taking the event a little more serious than you're supposed to, you're gonna scout around and you want to find out what the particulars of everybody was playing. And I figured out that only one other person was playing Kozmo. Everybody else was playing Pepe and Infernoid for some reason. I don't really know any other, you know why. So I took out my Cyber Dragons, mainly because I felt that Pepe is a really rough matchup for Kozmos, and unless he's playing like a whole bunch of anti-Pepe, I probably wouldn't see him throughout the whole tournament, which I didn't. So yeah, what I played, obviously, as you guys can see, was the 2 copies of Eccentric Archfiend. I mainboard I sideboarded Wavering Guys, and my logic was Eccentric Archfiend gets over pesky back row like Imperial Iron Wall. It also gets over Ignister, and it's searchable through Wavering Guys once I burst their scales. 3 copies of Ghost Ogre. I don't know what I was thinking, mainly because, I don't know, maybe I have 3 and that's the reason why I sided it. I genuinely don't know. It does stop scales, it does destroy monster effects, so it's, maybe that was the reason, but I never sided it in, never needed it. I think I actually over-sided against Pepe and stuff like that. The 3rd Mystical Space Typhoon, 2 copies of Dark Hole. I actually cited these in a lot, and which was really funny is that I cited in Mystical Space Typhoon. The 3rd one against Infernoid, didn't even notice it, but it worked. 3 copies of Wavering Guys. This is if I go second, I mainboard the Wavering Guys, mainly because even if I'm not popping 4 scales, I can still pop their scales. Force them to go under Maxi if they have a Plush Fire, and then grab my Archfiend Eccentric, which gets over their back row card with, you know, they open Imperial Iron Wall, or even their Ignister if, you know, if it's mid to late game. And then if they force me to go first, so somehow miraculously I won game 1, which is a lot of times that I play Pepe, I won game 1. They forced me to go first. I mainboard anti-spell fragrance. Unfortunately, every single time I opened this card, it was met with Typhoon, and I did open with it, so it was kind of nasty. But I played it. I felt that if they forced me to go first, I wouldn't side in my Wavering Guys and my Eccentrics. I just go straight with the fragrances. I mean, I guess I used the Ghost Ogres. I don't know what I was thinking seriously with these Ghost Ogres, but I'd side these in. If I open them, I completely win. It doesn't really matter what I play as long as I have some relevant Kozmo cards in hand. Granted, they can go in like Castell and all that other stuff, but I worried about that later, you know, especially when I had 3 Effect Veilers, 3 Maxis, and Skill Drain. So it was like, I literally only lost this to Typhoon. my easiest matchup, as you guys can see, or as you guys should know, was Infernoid. And the reason why Inferno was so easy, I didn't know it was easy until I realized Dark Destroyer is a 3000 non-targetable card. They literally can't out Dark Destroyer. So that was a really easy matchup once I started to get my hands. And as you guys can see, my hardest matchup, the hardest matchup for Kozmo is obviously Pepe. And I deal with PE pretty easily game one. The only time I did lose to PE is when I bricked hand. I'm not saying that this deck infinitely beats PE, but I'm saying that my matchup throughout that tournament was very favorable. A couple of shout outs was to the Terraforming that I probably should have played over the Lord Darkness. I did not know that Mystical Space Typhoon was really good in this deck also. And Deck Devi, a card that I probably should have considered to side, just because it's just an amazing card. I actually talk about it tomorrow. Another thing that I would say, a highlight of that day, I think my highlight was against Pepe, round 3. I drew the worst hand possible. I drew like 4 back row. If I remember correctly, I drew Time Space, 2 Stormy Mirror Force, a Solemn, and then I think a Farm Girl, and he went first. He set up with a pretty nice board, and so I couldn't do anything but set back row. Fortunately for me, he ran into all of my back row, all of my Mirror Forces. My Bow Stormer went first. I drew another Time Space. He ran into that. And so it came down to me poking him with Farm Girl. He had Imperial Iron Wall on the field. Me poking him with Farm Girl, and then I went ahead to add the Slip Rider to my hand, and I passed my turn. He tried to establish a board. I solemned him. This put me down to 1,500 life points. I solemned him, and he couldn't do anything from there on. It went back to my turn. I attacked with the Farm Girl again. I had the Dank Destroyer, and then triggered it for the Slip Rider to get over it. Also set up Vanity's Emptiness. So he set up his scales. It just so happened to be one of those scales had to be the stupid Mirror Force, or the mirror. He set up his scales under Vanity Emptiness. Obviously he sees the Vanity's Emptiness, so he summons the Mass Chameleon, turns my Slip Rider to 800 attack with the mirror, then gets over my Slip Rider. I had no cards. I had the Dank Destroyer in hand, no cards on field except for the Kozmo Town. So I was really in a bad position. So I draw, and my top deck happens to be Mystical Space Typhoon. He has enough life points for me to Typhoon my Kozmo Town. Kozmo Town added Darth Maul to my hand. I ran over his Chameleon, banished it for Destroyer, and attacked for game. That was in time. I think that was probably the best moment for this deck. My most favorable moment, because literally I was using the Force to draw it, and I was like, if I need a Kozmo monster right now, I drew the Mystical Space Typhoon, and at that current time, I was genuinely going to scoop until I realized I could Typhoon my own Kozmo Town. That which really made me want to play more copies of Typhoon inside the main board. But thank you guys for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you guys would like to buy some of the cheapest cards online from your favorite YouTuber, you can click on the link below. That's going to take you to my binder update. Consequently, you can always click on a video on the left and right, and that will take you to an amazing video that I know you guys want to watch. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy.